She said, "You're the father of this baby." But deep down I knew the truth. So in court I proved with DNA that the child wasn't mine and her lies fell apart in front of everyone. I was 34, and when I look back at this past year, all I see is mistake after mistake. Every decision leading me closer to the edge. Honestly, it felt like I had set fire to my own life and watched it burn without knowing how to stop it. A year ago, I married a woman who had recently divorced. From the very beginning, things were complicated, yet I kept telling myself I was doing the right thing. The whole story started in a way I never could have imagined. She was the one who proposed to me. That moment caught me completely off guard. I had never had a woman look me in the eyes and ask me to marry her. My first reaction was hesitation, not because I didn't like her, but because everything felt rushed, uncertain, and too fast. I didn't give her an answer right away. I told her I needed time, and for almost a year, I went back and forth in my mind, weighing every possibility, every feeling, every risk. She was charming in her own way. She had a confidence that made you believe she knew exactly what she wanted from life. And part of me thought maybe I was the hesitant one. Maybe I was holding myself back. Eventually, I caved. I convinced myself that taking time to say yes was patience, maturity, and love guiding me. But looking back, I realized it was none of that. It was me ignoring red flags that were staring me in the face. One of the first things I knew about her was that she had a child from her previous marriage. She never hid that, and I respected her honesty. She also mentioned that her ex-husband paid child support monthly. I didn't see it as a problem. I thought that was their arrangement. It was none of my concern. But the real problem was hidden deeper. I had no idea why her first marriage ended. Whenever I tried to ask, she brushed me off. I remember one evening sitting on the couch, asking casually, "So, what really happened between you and your ex-husband?" She paused, gave a half smile and said, "It's in the past. I don't want to talk about it." And just like that, she changed the subject. First, I told myself it was okay. Maybe it was too painful for her to revisit. Maybe she wasn't ready to open up. I wanted to respect her boundaries, so I dropped it. But deep inside, a gnawing feeling persisted. Something didn't add up. Why was she so unwilling to share even a little bit of her side of the story? People don't usually shut down completely unless there is more to hide. Still, I silenced my gut and told myself not to push her. I wanted to be the understanding partner, the man who respected her past. That decision, staying silent instead of pressing for answers, was my first real mistake. The wedding itself was small and intimate, just a handful of people. I remember standing there looking at her in her dress, thinking maybe this was it. The new chapter, the second chance for both of us. I thought I was stepping into love, commitment, and something we could build together. But a year later, I realized that the silence I ignored back then would be the thing that unraveled everything. I should have trusted my gut when she avoided talking about her ex. Instead, I convinced myself that love was enough. The first few weeks of marriage felt normal, maybe even hopeful. We went out for dinner, watched movies at home, and talked about our future. I truly believed we were laying a strong foundation. But slowly, like water seeping through cracks in a wall, problems started appearing. At first, I brushed them off as small annoyances, but they piled up in ways I couldn't ignore. Arguments started over the smallest things. One night, she told me to cook dinner. I didn't think much of it. I believed marriage was about compromise. So I went into the kitchen, made something quickly, and served us both. She ate without complaint, and I thought, this is fine. We're figuring things out. But then it became a pattern. Almost every evening, she expected me to cook. First, I didn't mind. I thought maybe she was still settling in. But one day, I asked her if she could cook for me. I casually said, "Can you make dinner tonight? I had a long day." Her response stunned me. She looked at me and said flatly, "I don't like cooking. I don't want to do it. It's a waste of my time." It wasn't just the words. It was the complete refusal to even try. Not "I'm tired" or "maybe tomorrow," but a firm no, and she said it with finality. like it was ridiculous I had asked. That moment hit me. It wasn't about cooking. It was about effort. She didn't want to meet me halfway. She expected me to carry the marriage alone. Weeks turned into months. She wouldn't cook, clean, or take initiative. I tried patience, believing love and consistency would lead her to change. But nothing changed. Our home felt like a hotel. Her needs were met, but mine didn't matter. I sat alone, eating the meals I made, while she sat in another room laughing at her phone. It was a loneliness worse than being single. I wanted to fight for us, to prove I was a man who didn't quit, but a quiet voice kept whispering, "This isn't trouble. It's a pattern." And that voice grew louder every day. Finally, I reached my breaking point. I sat her down and said, "This marriage isn't working. I don't feel like we're partners. We should get a divorce." She didn't cry, argue, or ask why. She just said, "Okay," calmly. But then she dropped the bomb. She wanted alimony and child support for her son. Her son wasn't mine. His father paid support every month. I was stunned. She looked me in the eye and said, "You're his father now. You married me, and with that comes responsibility. You'll pay for him for life." Couldn't believe it. It wasn't about money. It was entitlement, manipulation, and planning. I sat speechless, realizing every red flag I ignored was coming back to hit me. She wanted to trap me financially for a child who wasn't mine. I hired a lawyer, and slowly, the truth came out. She had contributed nothing, refused to compromise, and tried to twist the story. The court ruled in my favor. No alimony. No child support. Free. Walking out of that courtroom was like breathing after months underwater. I was scarred, but wiser. Love isn't enough when only one person is giving. Patience means nothing when the other only takes. I'm sharing this story as a warning. Trust your gut. Don't ignore red flags. And never let guilt make you carry a burden that isn't yours. After the court ruling, I felt an enormous sense of relief, but it was mixed with regret and reflection. I kept thinking about how blind I had been, how I had ignored all the warnings, and how I let my desire for love and partnership cloud my judgment. The red flags had been there from the very beginning. Her avoidance of discussing her past, the imbalance in our marriage, her entitlement, and her lack of effort. I had silenced my gut because I thought love was enough, but love alone doesn't build a marriage. It doesn't create partnership or fairness. I realized that I had spent a year pouring my energy into a marriage that was one-sided, trying to fix someone else while ignoring my own needs. I cooked every meal, managed the household, and tried to keep peace while she took without giving. And when I finally stood up for myself, she tried to turn the tables, using manipulation, guilt, and emotional pressure to force me into a role I never agreed to. But I didn't let it work. I hired a lawyer, trusted the law, and finally saw justice. That moment taught me the hardest lesson of my life. Love isn't enough when only one person is willing to give. Looking back, I realized that marriage isn't about sacrificing your future for someone else's demands. It's about partnership, respect, and mutual effort. I had thought I was patient, kind, and loving. I thought my sacrifices would show commitment. But commitment means two people working together, not one person giving until they break. I learned that it's okay to walk away when the relationship is unbalanced, and that standing up for yourself is not cruel, it's necessary. Even after the divorce, the memories stayed with me. The silence I ignored, the effort she refused to make, and the day she claimed I was responsible for a child who wasn't mine. All of it played over and over in my head. But I also felt a growing strength inside me. I had trusted my instincts finally, taken control of my life, and protected my future. That power, that clarity, felt like freedom. I could see clearly that I didn't marry a partner. I married someone who saw me as a provider, not an equal, and I would never let that happen again. Today, I'm free. I'm scarred by the experience, but I'm wiser. I know now to listen to my gut, to notice red flags, and to respect myself enough not to be trapped by someone else's demands or manipulations. I learned that love is beautiful when shared, but dangerous when one-sided. And most importantly, I learned that protecting yourself isn't heartless. It's necessary for survival. So here I am, sharing this story to warn others. Take your time in marriage. Ask questions. Pay attention to the signs. And don't let guilt or pressure push you into a lifetime of burden that doesn't belong to you. Love should lift you, not trap you. Freedom, respect, and self-worth are worth fighting for. If you've watched this far, remember, trust yourself, speak up, and never ignore the warnings. Marriage can be beautiful, but it can also destroy you if you ignore the signs. Protect your heart, your mind, and your future. And don't forget, true love is equal, not one-sided.